right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Sprites, Bytes, and Pixels. We have made it to episode 26. It's a monumental moment for us since we release on every other week. That's essentially a full calendar year of episodes. So it's been a really, really fun ride. We've got some exciting stuff to talk to you guys about today. Once again, I have Wilson here joining me.
That's me.
That's you.
Hello.
Nice. Wilson with his epic video game collection hanging out at the background. So today, we're going to be talking about something that is interesting, a little bit different than what we've done in the past, and that is just handheld systems. What are our thoughts on handheld systems? Which ones are our favorite? What do we like about them? What do we not like about them? So a lot of really, really cool things to talk about. But before we get started, I am eagerly anticipating Wilson telling me what he is playing right now.
Me first, eh? Yeah, I can see why. So I finally did it. I finally started a game that I've been waiting to play for forever. Ghost of Tsushima. I got it for PS5, and I completed Immortals Phoenix Rising, platinum that, moved on to Ghost of Tsushima, and super digging it. Like,
what's the thing you like the most about this game?
It's not easy, but it's not like it's not crazy hard, but it's not easy as well. Like I died a lot before, like, getting used to the combat, because the combat is very different from like other things. You have to learn how to parry. You have to learn how to do different stances, like different stances, because different fighting stances work against different enemies. Like, you have enemies with spears, so you have I want to say it's called the water stance, and that is good against people with spears. You have I think there's water, stone, earth, and fire, maybe. And I think the fire stance is against like tougher enemies, like the bigger enemies. You have shield enemies, and there's I think it's earth stance that's good against them. And then you have stone stance, which is good against enemies with swords. So when you're fighting different enemies, you have to kind of work with using different stances, because different stances work like will weaken them more. So yeah, the combat is very different from other games that I play. And yeah, I'm really liking it. Like, and just like, every other open world game that I play, like, the moment I have an opportunity to, I go in a completely different path. And yeah, once I had free reign, and you first get on your horse and you're out in the field and it tells you go this way, I'm like, nope, I'm going this way. And so that's what I did. I did a bunch of side missions before even starting like my first story mission. And
nice.
I love it when a game lets me do stuff like that.
Nice.
But you think like you've learned everything there is to know about that game, but then it throws in other abilities like later on. I'm not gonna spoil it, but like, you get this really cool ability that helps you traverse. And yeah, like I'm just rambling, because like,
it's a great game, man.
I like it. I think it's I love it. I think it's a really good game, and it's a game that I'll probably platinum as well.
So platinum, what does that mean? Platinum means you do 100%?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I did with Immortals Phoenix Rising. The 100% thing, all trophies.
Wow, that takes a long time, doesn't it?
For Immortals Phoenix Rising, I put, I want to say 60 hours into it, and grabbed everything. Now, with Immortals Phoenix Rising, I didn't have to grab every single thing. It's just like, you have to meet certain requirements to get the trophies. Now, Ghost of Tsushima, I will admit, I haven't checked to see what the trophies are for that.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil anything for me, so that's why I haven't done that.
Okay.
But once I beat the game, then I'll move on. Now, that being said, if one of the trophies is beat on hard mode, I'm done. I'm not going to platinum it. I'm going to move on because, like I said in other episodes, I don't really like replaying games, especially when I have like other things to play.
Yeah.
Because I'm also playing Sparklight on the Switch, and I today also started playing Slay the Spire,
Nice.
which is a deck building like combat game, and yeah, I'm digging that. I'll probably play that more often as well.
Nice. So
Yeah,
people that don't know, I am a huge fan of Ghost of Tsushima, and I was pushing Wilson to keep playing this game. Wilson was pushing me to play Horizon, so I beat Horizon, and I'm like, Wilson, it's your turn now. So he finally got the game. I think he was holding out to get like all the DLCs and all of that stuff. I don't have a PS5, so I haven't had an opportunity to get this. And I am the type of guy that will replay video games, so I see myself once I do get a PS5 replaying Ghost of Tsushima, and I'll probably play on hard mode because I played on the second hardest mode, which is above normal when I beat it the first time. And I think the hardest mode is like black and white, and it looks like this really animated cinematic kind of gameplay. So I'm interested in trying that.
right on.
In terms of what I'm playing, I am currently so I picked God of War back up again. It's like the game that I keep going back to. So I had some free time last week, so I think I pumped like 15ish hours into it, and I'm making progress. And without giving away spoilers, I got to a point that I thought was going to be nearing the end, and it's like, nope, that's not the end. You got to go do something somewhere else. So that's where I am at right now, trying to beat that. And then aside from that, I've been playing the game of life. So I gave my notice of resignation at my company on Monday. So I left a nice cushy corporate gig to go and follow my passion, which is video games. So hoping that that is a good move. It's always scary leaving like stability behind, but I thought it was the right time. So right now I'm playing God of War and the game of life.
Are you nervous at all?
No, I'm not. No.
I didn't think you were. I had that because sometimes people aren't as confident as they look.
Yeah. I think for me, it's something I've always wanted to do for the longest time. And it's always like I would give myself one excuse or another. It's like, oh, I have this coming up. Maybe let me just keep the steady job for this. Or what if this happens? Or what if COVID doesn't go away? Will I still need stability? But I'm like, at the end of the day, corporate jobs will always be there. But my life is going to continue to move forward. I'm 32 right now, and I want to take this step now. Like I'm single. I don't have like a ton of responsibilities, no kids or anything. So I'm like, if I'm going to take a risk, now's the time for me to take it. So I'm taking the risk now, and we'll see where I end up in like a year or two. And worst case scenario, if I fall flat on my face, I'll just go back and get another corporate job.
I think you told me like 2 years ago, around 2 years ago, that you were planning on doing this. Like this has been your goal for a while now.
Oh yeah.
I think you'd get there, but yeah, congratulations. Like that's awesome.
Man. Took some time, so I'm happy. Now this gives me more opportunity to game. And back to our subject, we're going to be talking about handheld gaming today. And everybody that watches this podcast knows one of my favorite games of all time is Fire Emblem, which is on the Game Boy Advance. So I don't know. How do you want to tackle the conversation today? Do we want to go over like the pros and cons of handheld gaming? Do we want to talk about some of our favorite handheld systems, handheld games? How do you want to do it?
Just play it by ear, whatever pops in your head regarding handheld. Now, I will say, let's leave the Switch out of it. I know some people consider it a handheld, some people don't. It isn't. Like when I was playing Slay the Spire earlier, I was using the handheld mode.
Yeah.
But I don't consider it a handheld console as much as like other people do.
Okay. So like when you said what's the first thing that comes to my mind? The first thing that comes to my mind is my first exposure to handheld video games, and that was the OG Game Boy in like the late 1990s, and getting Pokemon Red, and just like spending hours upon hours on that game. And like kids are so spoiled, and people are so spoiled nowadays because they have like backlit screens, they have OLED screens, and they have all this crazy madness. Whereas back then we had like really dark screens, and you had to like play video games under the light or get these attachments that would give you a little bit of light as well. So for me, my first exposure to handheld gaming was the OG Game Boy. What about you?
Well, it's funny you mentioned the light thing because yeah, that like kids realize or kids today like they don't realize how good they have it. You're right with the whole backlit. I got my OG Game Boy. I think I was in grade 5. It was for my I want to say it was for like my 11th or 12th birthday when Link's Awakening came out. I wanted a Game Boy for my birthday, and I got two. I got one from a friend who gave me
Wow.
his, and my parents bought me the clear Game Boy.
Oh, the Play It Loud system? It came in
Um,
a clear clamshell?
yeah, it was a regular size Game Boy, but it was a clear one. I
Oh,
don't know if I have it. I've been looking around for it, and I can't find it anywhere.
okay.
It's maybe I have it. I don't know, or maybe I left it at my mother's, who moved away and left everything behind. But that's another story. But yeah, I got Kirby's Pinball, and I got Link's Awakening, and of course I went right to Link's Awakening and played the shit out of that. But I'd bring it with me in the car, and we'd be out for all day, and we'd be driving home, and I'd be trying to play my game, and like trying to work with the light, like bringing my Game Boy through the
Yeah,
light as we're going underneath traffic lights,
yeah,
like trying to play as I'm doing, and it's brutal, but like this
yeah.
is the way I had to play when you're in your car.
100%.
Like
Did you invest in rechargeable batteries?
no, I
Those are a game changer.
because I don't think we had a battery recharger. But yeah, you're right. Those are a game changer. I think I was doing like Duracells, which you would get like good 7-8 hours out of that.
Yeah.
Um, we also had an adapter that I found. Um, I think it was for like something else, but I used to use it for my Game Boy, and I used to plug it in.
Oh, nice.
And I also used the headphone jack. I had the headphone jack. I would put the headphone jack in, and then connect that to our stereo, so I'd be able to like
Uh,
listen to it while playing it. Yeah,
you're quite the techie, Wilson.
I've been quite the techie for a bit. Like I was always like, you know, messing around and experimenting with things I could do to like kind of better my experience.
Okay. Nice. That's really interesting. It seems like we both started off with the same one. So for me, I think when it comes to handhelds, I became more of a console gamer than a handheld gamer. Like I had the original Game Boy, and the biggest thing that sticks out to me is playing Pokemon Red, and this would have been like late 1990s. And then the next like big iconic moment I have in my mind in terms of when I was actually playing handheld stuff would have been the Game Boy Advance. So this would have been like 2005, 2006, 2007, and that would have been with Fire Emblem. So there's a pretty big gap. And I think between that time, what I started to focus more so on is like console-based gaming because I picked up a PS1, I pumped a ton of hours into Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, and a whole bunch of other RPGs. So for me, I had a bit of a gap in between console and handheld. Did you experience the same thing?
Um, I get well. No, I think it was a good balance. I think obviously it was probably more console because um you're kind of more comfortable with a console when you're a kid. Especially with what I was talking about earlier about batteries. Like with a handheld, you're kind of limited with your play, especially when you have to rely on batteries, instead of having an adapter to kind of plug it in. With a console, you don't have to worry about that. You have, it's plugged in, it's always, ready to boot up.
Yeah.
Um, but I played a lot of like stuff when I was younger. Like when I had my Game Boy, I had friends who had a Game Gear, and I played Shinobi on the Game Gear, which is
Never played that.
awesome. Dude, Shinobi's probably one of the best Game Gear games out there.
I
It's
played
it's
Shinobi on the
really,
Sega Genesis, and that was really good.
yeah. The Shinobi on Sega Genesis is good. The Return of Shinobi, the second one is better. I don't know if the third one. Um, I think the third one isn't as good as the second, but Shinobi on Game Gear, it's a lot better than like it's different. Like you you pick your level, and when you beat the boss of that level, they join your team because each boss is another ninja, and
Mhm.
each ninja has its own powers. One is able to like, I think one is able to like double jump. One is able to like, I don't know. They're all able to like traverse in some way, and each helps you like navigate through the levels. I also had a buddy who had a Turbo Express,
Interesting. How was
which
that?
is a mini TurboGrafx 16. So that was kind of one of my first experiences with a TurboGrafx. I
Nice.
never knew that it was a mini TurboGrafx. I just thought it was a handheld, which was, you know, pretty cool. Then you learn later on in life, like, and for me it was maybe 10 years ago, you learn that no, you were actually playing a TurboGrafx
Mm.
16 just in a handheld form. Um, but I wanted to say, you brought up your Game Boy Advance. The the reason I bought my first Game Boy Advance was for Zelda the Four Swords on Four Swords Adventures
Mm.
on GameCube.
I haven't played that.
Because, so with Zelda, the GameCube was really cool because you had the link cable, so you would connect your controller to the link cable, and you'd be able to do certain parts on your Game Boy Advance. So say you like went into a cave on the TV. Once you went into that cave, it would go to your Game Boy Advance. So you'd be able to um, play with the Game Boy Advance and with the well, I think you actually were using the Game Boy Advance for both things. Now that I think about it, you know
Okay.
what? I can't remember.
It was a
It's
while
been
ago.
it's been so long, but yeah, I believe I yeah, yes, because you weren't using the analog stick, you were using the directional pad. So yeah, you could be able to play you were able to play Four Sword Adventures on the Game Boy Advance connected to the GameCube, so you would move around on the TV, go
Mhm.
into a cave or like some other area, maybe like the inside of a house,
Yeah.
and that would go to your Game Boy Advance. So you'd be able to play every once in a while back and forth. And Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles also allowed you to use your Game Boy Advance, but I think that was more for like combat and selecting things. And I think it was like your start, like your menu screen,
Mhm.
kind of like the Wii U,
Okay.
the gamepad. You'd be able to select things. You'd have two screens at the same time. That was kind of like what the Game Boy Advance was for Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. But the reason
Yeah.
I bought my Advance in the first place was for Four Swords. I
Nice.
never really played any games on it.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, the Game Boy Advance was I played. I remember I played Fire Emblem. I played Sacred Stones. I played like the Pokemon games on it. I played Advanced Wars, Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced. Like those are the top five that stick out to me. And I would say that all five of those games are pretty well known. So maybe why don't we shift our focus to maybe some lesser known titles that we really enjoyed? And this is I can go first, and I'll talk about a system that maybe doesn't get the level of appreciation that it does, and that's the PlayStation Portable, the PSP. So for me, I'm a huge RPG buff. I loved Final Fantasy, so I picked up what was it called? Crisis Core, Final Fantasy Crisis Core, and it came with my PSP. And at the time, I'm like, oh, it's Final Fantasy. I'll have fun. I'll enjoy it. And then once I started that game, I like powered through it. It was such a good title. And I think the best part about it is it gives you a backstory of what happens prior to Final Fantasy VII, what happens to Cloud, what happened with Cloud in the past, Sephiroth, Zack, and all this stuff. So for me, Crisis Core stands out as one of my favorite handheld games, and it's on a system that's now being discontinued because there's no more uh, PlayStation handheld systems.
Yet, give them
Yeah.
time. You never know with Sony, like what they're gonna do next. Like, who knew eventually we'd have a PSVR? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
And now we
um,
got it.
yeah, the PSP is really cool. I I got it for Christmas from my ex girlfriend. Yeah, my ex girlfriend. Uh, we're talking like 20 years ago,
Mm.
maybe. I'm 39. Yeah, so yeah, around let me say like 20 years ago,
Okay.
maybe 15 years ago. And you say you got yours with Crisis Core. Mine came with Daxter,
Oh, nice.
which was it's still a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I sought out other uh, PSP games like right away, and a couple I got pretty early on in my collection were Killzone. I want to say Killzone Liberation
Oh, yep.
and Tales of the World.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's a Tales game,
Okay.
uh, but it's very very different type of Tales game. I think it was more like a dungeon crawler type.
Okay.
Um, it was fun, but it got kind of repetitive pretty
Hmm.
quickly. You would be in a town. You'd have you'd be given a mission. You'd go into like this dungeon area, get to the like complete the mission, and then it would take you back to the town, and then you like rinse and repeat over and over. Had
Yeah.
good music, it had decent combat, but it was pretty repetitive.
Yeah.
What was the first one I said?
Jack.
Killzone Liberation.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called. Might be Killzone Mercenary, although I thought Killzone Mercenary was the Vita
Yes.
one.
Vita.
Anyways, Killzone, whatever it's called, I think it's Killzone Liberation, is different from the other Killzone games. It's not a first person shooter. It's
Mhm.
like an isometric kind of action game. And you had like different moves that you could do to like defeat enemies. And it was a lot of fun. It's still a lot of fun.
Nice.
It actually really surprised me. Um, I also liked Kingdom of, I want to say it's called Kingdom of Paradise,
Okay.
which was action RPG. It was a pretty big open world action RPG, and like you had different areas that were open, and you would fight enemies with like martial arts skills, and like it was more like it was very action oriented. You could punch and kick, and you'd have like different moves with different button combinations. Um, I don't see a lot of people talk about it, but I know people have seen the game, but people don't talk about it that much. And I had a lot of fun with that. Um, I could honestly go on and on about the PSP because you said that you love RPGs.
I
The
do.
PSP is like an RPG power.
There's
There's
so many RPGs on that game, on that system.
there's a, there's a lot of there's a lot of good RPGs. There's like remakes of or remasters of both Lunars.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
Lunar Silver Story and Eternal Blue.
Yep.
Those are both.
Ease, you have the
Are they
Ease games.
are they both on there?
I have. I'm pretty sure I have two Lunar games on my PSP.
I'm not entirely. I know I have the first
Well,
one.
there's just a ton of RPGs on that system.
There's Ease,
Yep.
which is a great action RPG series.
Yep.
There's like three of those titles on the PSP.
There's a lot of really popular titles. I think, like even if you take a look at like ports, so you said Jack and Daxter. We know that they have Final Fantasy, they have Final Fantasy Tactics, they have Disgaea. They ported over the Grand Theft Auto series, Killzone, and I'm sure I'm missing like a ton of other ones. But the best part of these portable systems is that you can port over games that are on console, tweak them a little bit, and then relaunch them because you already have a strong IP behind it. So for me, I thought that the PSP was really nice. One system that I think that maybe also gets underlooked a little bit is the Sega Nomad. So the Nomad, for people that don't know it, was like Wilson was saying with the Turbo Express. It's like a mini Sega Genesis. You actually use Sega Genesis cards, you plop them in, and you guys can play whatever you want, and you can play it on the go. And it's a system that you don't really see a lot of people talk about very much. I guess Sega doesn't really have as much of a fan following as Sony does or Nintendo does, so maybe that's why. Um, So for me, I thought the Nomad was pretty cool. I never owned one myself, but I've seen videos online, and it seems like a really nice system. Wilson is gone. Oh, nice. And Landstalker.
And I got Landstalker in there,
Nice.
which is a pretty cool isometric action RPG. Also got a battery pack I got. So like, because the Nomad is a beast for draining batteries.
As is the Game Gear. It's so many batteries, man.
Yeah,
It's nuts.
it's a succubus for batteries. But I have a nice battery pack that or a nice booster pack that is rechargeable, so I can use it and play my Nomad. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's really cool. It sounds good too.
Yeah.
And it's got 6 buttons on it, which you don't see often, like 6 face buttons. Yeah, it's a really cool system.
So it seems like pretty much every major console manufacturer has released a portable version except for the Xbox. Do you ever see somebody or a company like Xbox taking a play at the handheld game, or do you think it's way too dominated by Nintendo right now?
Well, because Microsoft are kind of like, well, Xbox is Microsoft, and Microsoft is a computer company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never thought about Xbox jumping on the portable bandwagon.
It's like with their IPs, like when you take a look at these handheld systems, launch titles are typically strong IPs for that console. So like if we take a look at the Nintendo games, there's lots of Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, all that stuff. You take a look at the Vita, you take a look at the PSP, you have your Final Fantasies, you have your Disgaias, you have your Jacks, Ratchet and Clank, and all that stuff. But then you take a look at Microsoft, and like their biggest IPs are Halo, Forza,
Gears of War.
And like Halo and Gears of War. I don't know if they would do well on a handheld, because it's like it's nice having a big screen, because you want to see where people are coming from. If bullets are coming in, where they're coming in from. So unless the portable system would be really large with a really large screen, I don't see how that would work for Microsoft. And on top of that, it's like they already have they have such a strong foothold in the tablet industry that they can just make games that are apps that you can just download and play if you want to really get that Microsoft experience.
Well, I believe also with Microsoft, especially like X, they have like these they have something already introduced where you can play games on other devices. Like if you whatever you can play on an Xbox Series X, you can also play on like a Windows computer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like not so much a streaming service, but just like just something that they have. I don't remember what it's called, but
okay.
Yeah, they have something like that. So I believe with Windows, because they have Windows tablets as well.
Yeah,
you can play those games on those Windows tablets as well.
I'm just trying to slowly bring something up into the screen. Let's see if you can guess what this is before it fully comes up.
It's N-Gage.
Have you seen one of these in a very long time?
I have 2.
Really?
Yep.
So it's like Nokia came into this handheld gaming market, and they came out with a pretty cool product that had some really nice games. And like even the interface of the console is really cool. It's like a slightly larger Game Boy Micro, but it just never took off.
I can tell you why.
Why?
There's a few reasons. So it was, first off, the N-Gage was made by Nokia, who are predominantly a telephone company.
Mm-hmm.
They were a cellular phone company, and the N-Gage was their version of a phone that also plays games.
Mm-hmm.
The phone part of it was ridiculous. Hold it up to your ear right now.
Is it actually meant to be used like a phone like that?
Yes.
Like this?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
That's so awkward.
Yeah, so it went viral. And like viral before viral was even a thing. Because like just how like it looked weird holding it up to your ear. People called it like a banana, like it was holding a banana.
Yeah.
Came with earbuds, but the earbuds weren't that great.
Mhm.
And like, remember, this is before the iPhone.
Yeah.
This is before we were able to successfully, make decent earbuds. Before we were able to make like decent, I don't know, like the decent like voice quality for phones that were other things as well.
Hmm.
The other thing is that, have you ever used that to play a game on it?
I have two Nokia N gauges. I can't get either one of them to work.
Okay, so to put a game in, you had to take off the back, take out the battery, uh, put the game in, and then put everything back in. It was just like it was tedious to like do all that. It was a lot of work just to like pop a game in. And sometimes like the games were okay. There are good N-Gage games, but I don't know, like there weren't that many good ones. I believe I have 13 or 14 N-Gage games.
I think I have something similar, but I can't find it right now. But I had a pretty decent selection as well. And even the selection that I had, it wasn't really anything that stood out to me. So yeah,
I got
you do.
I got something you've never seen before.
Cool, cool. Is it a Wonder Swan?
Nope.
Neo Geo Pocket Color?
It is not, because I know I know you've seen a Neo Geo Pocket Color because you sold me some Neo Geo Pocket Color games.
I did.
This, my friend. So this is the case it came in.
What is
This
that?
this is the Tap Wave Zodiac. So this
Never seen that before.
this is like a PDA. You it's just like a leather cover that pops off.
That is so interesting. What kind of games does it play?
Very, very like basic kind of. I believe I have Solitaire on here, but yeah, like, they're like little SD cards or whatever. This is Spy Hunter,
Nice.
and I've tried finding other games for it, but it's a little bit difficult to find them. But yeah, it's very, very basic. And you've never heard of it because
Yeah,
like it didn't really take off. Can I power it on, or do I need to put? No, I guess I need to plug it in. Yeah, I haven't played it in forever, but
yeah.
it's a pretty neat device. But it's very, very basic. Like I played Solitaire, but it was like a very, very slow version of Solitaire.
Mhm.
I can't remember if I tried Spy Hunter or not, but yeah, Tap Wave Zodiac.
Nice.
Difficult to find games for this thing. I've looked on eBay and not worth the price.
Okay. So I think like consensus from both of us is that although handheld systems are interesting and they have some nice titles, for the most part, we would wager that we prefer console-based games over handheld, correct?
I would say so. Sometimes I like to play my handheld games on a TV. Like when we were talking about the PSP, I was going to bring up the fact that I have a PSP component cable that I can hook up to my TV and then play my PSP on the TV. The same with the PlayStation Vita.
Yeah.
The PlayStation TV, you can play a lot of your PlayStation Vita games on the PlayStation TV, which is like a little small device. And you just put your games in there and it's hooked up to an HDMI, goes into the TV, and you can play your Vita games on that. So yeah, even though I have my handhelds, I try to play it on a bigger screen. And that's another thing with my handhelds. Like when I got my DS, when I found out there was a bigger version of the DS, like a bigger screen, I went for that. I got the original 3DS. There was one with a bigger screen. I got the 3DS XL. Like I don't know, for some reason I like bigger screens. I always worry about missing out on seeing things.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe that's one of the reasons the Game Boy Micro wasn't as well accepted is that it had a backlight screen and it was like a pretty cool system, but the screen was just so tiny. And it's like if you're like having a portable system is cool, but having a portable system with screen is like 2 inches it's just really hard to get any gaming done.
So this is my PS5 controller.
Is that right?
Yeah, pink. This is the Game Boy Micro. So you can see the size difference between the PS5
And
controller.
that's the full micro, and the screen's only where Wilson's fingers are.
Yeah, like you can see the.
Yeah.
It's a very like in my hands. Like you see how it feels in my hand, or
It looks
how
like a harmonica from the back.
Yeah, it's very small, but it's cool. It's a cool device.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice device. I just don't think a lot of people adopted it just because the screen size is too small. Cool. Well, I am out of questions for when it comes to handheld stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to cover?
Were there any peripherals that you bought for any handheld consoles? Because there are certain peripherals that I don't know, kind of better the experience.
I think for me, the only ones I remember is when I had the OG Game Boy. I think I bought a battery pack, and I think I had the squiggly light. But I know like the OG Game Boy had a ton of shit that you could get. You could do like a magnifying glass. You could get like stereos added to the side, and people have probably seen the meme where it's like, this is not even my final form, and it's like a Game Boy and it looks like fully decked out. I never got to that level. For me, it was just like usability. So usability from my standpoint was just having more battery life and having like a light so I could play my games. What about you?
When I was a kid, I bought the that magnifier thing, but when I bought it, it was a magnifier, like a big magnifier, big like it was kind of like your Game Boy was here, and it was a screen kind of like flipped over onto it, and there was lights as well. So you had a magnifier, and then you had lights that kind of like reflected on the screen. So it was a little bit easier to play in the dark. But of course, those lights also took batteries. So while batteries for my Game Boy, I had to worry about batteries for that light. And I believe I also had it also had speakers.
Yep.
So you could like there was a headphone jack that went into the device, and you could like play louder music off of that device.
Yeah.
So magnifier, lights, and speakers all at one. And yeah, I used to use the shit out of that. I don't know what happened to that thing either.
The only thing that I would add to that is I used to play Pokemon, and a big part of Pokemon was trading. So we used to use transfer cables. Is that what they're called? Link cables? Link cables?
Cables or link cables, yeah.
Yeah. So we used to do those, and then I remember in high school during lunchtime we would play F-Zero on the Game Boy Advance. So we had the Game Boy Advance connector cable, so 4 people could play F-Zero GX at the same time, or F-Zero, whichever one it is, GP at the same time.
For Game Boy Advance?
Yeah. And that's yeah. Cool. Well, you know what? I think this was a really informative episode. We got to talk about some lesser known systems, got to bring up some of our favorite games and some of our experience. So wanted to thank everybody for joining us, and we hope to catch you guys on episode 27. Peace.
Bye-bye.